Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of This Week in Wildstar. This is episode 8. I am Jazzy, joined here today, as always, by my lovely and talented co-hosts, Nuts and Cabal. How we doing today, fellas?
Not bad. Doing great. Glad to be back.
It is good to be back.
You guys excited? Head start?
Oh, yeah. Can't wait.
Gotta take a nap after this.
Oh, yeah.
Head
All night
start.
just gaming.
They should call it something else. Like, I don't know, lack of sleep world or something. I don't know.
Pretty much.
Life's going to come to an end. It's just going to stop and it's playtime. Let's go.
Today we have a very special episode. We're going to be taking a look back at the last year of Wildstar. Got a lot of interesting stuff that happened this year. We learned a lot about our game, so we wanted to go ahead and take a look at everything and just see where we've been and where we're going. And then also, as a side note, because this was released a couple days ago, we're also going to talk about the servers, the realm list that was released.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fun stuff that went on there with that.
Yeah. I would have never thought such hype and craze would go on just over server names. Me personally.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about all that and more. Stick around, guys. All right, so the big news of this week, server list was released.
Yeah.
Names have come out and people went crazy over them.
Oh, yes, they did. More so the PvP ones than anything else. I didn't see, any drama over the PvE ones. No one cared.
That's because PvP names deserve epic names.
Yes.
As opposed to PvE, which is
The Supreme
same
Commander
thing.
has spoken.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Supreme Commander has laid down the law, and that is it. PvP is the rule of the universe. And you know what, though? I think maybe with the PvP, getting more hype over it and stuff is, at the end of the day, sometimes maybe people are more passionate over the PvP. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's age group of playing or just the mental thought that is that type of person that tends to the PvP. Maybe it's just they're a little bit more passionate about it, and
I could see that.
It really, is
The people who do PvE might be a little more passive.
Yeah, maybe that PvP personality is just so competitive, that maybe that even to that point that has an importance. It's important.
That makes sense.
I don't know about you guys, but it's pretty important when I see myself stabbing another person and they know that I beat them.
And I am from the realm of Purgo.
So I think we just proved your theory.
Yeah.
There we go. So a lot of the big issue, though, funny enough, was that people didn't like the names of the PvP servers. And you heard this a little bit in the beta when they opened up Purgo. We talked about that last time, how people were kind of making fun of it already. They opened up the other realm that was the complement to Purgo, and that's Pago. The names sound similar because they're both of the moons of the Chua homeworld, so they named the servers after that.
Why is it always about the Chua? Come on.
Because Chua Master Race.
But the Makari were
Step on
designed by the Elden to go out and create rule over the galaxy.
But who did the Makari invite to the Dominion first?
Yes.
Yes. The Chua. See?
Let's not forget who was first.
Anywho.
Yes.
People didn't like the names. And so at first, I didn't really pick one, right away. I kind of watched what other people were doing for a minute. And I was kind of watching on Twitter. By the way, I think my Twitter about exploded the second that realm list was dropped. Holy crap. It was just tweet. Everybody was going crazy. Tweet. Exactly.
To make that noise when you get a notification on your phone from Twitter.
No.
That's good.
I had to turn that off.
Yeah, I would have chucked it out the window.
Yeah.
It'd still haunt me in my dreams.
But the other server, there was a third PvP server. There were 3 that were released. There was Purgo, there was Pago, and then there was Widow. A lot of people initially said they were going to go Widow because it sounded the best. That was their, justification. They liked the name. After a while, though, Widow, let me backtrack. Widow was labeled as the Oceanic PvP server in open beta, and Carbine decided to drop the label because they noticed that not many people were playing on this server, which personally I thought was kind of odd, because I think that once they opened up all those servers, people were already established, most of them on Nexus, and at this point in the beta, it wouldn't really make sense to re-roll. You know, if you were already there, say you already had a 50, you know, even when they open the new server types.
The thing is they're saying their servers are larger than normal. So I don't think they should hide if this is your Oceanic server. I get that maybe they may not get as many people, but there are probably a lot of people that will be conducive for, and they may want to just know it up front because it may help them out in some degree. And you know what, it kind of is what it is. The beast is what it is. You ain't going to change it, and you know, one way or another you have to accommodate and just kind of deal with that issue. I don't think tucking it under the rug is a total solution, but
well, I think they removed it because of that. They were concerned that it would be very underpopulated, because having it labeled as an Oceanic server in the North American server grouping would deter people from rolling on that server, because they would think that, most of those people, the time zone difference would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that that's kind of what they were trying to avoid, so that it didn't lead to a poor play experience for people from the Oceanic region, not being able to find people to play with.
I get it, but looking at it, Purgo, Pago, Widow, I would sit there and say, just as a natural knee-jerk response, I wouldn't pick Purgo, just because, it just, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just automatically, like, people are slamming on Twitter and coming up with things. It just automatically opens itself up to, flooring, spaghetti, whatever. And, it's just like, but at the end of the day, it's just a server name, folks,
Exactly.
Well, really
That's what I was saying.
They went crazy.
It's like,
Yeah, they did.
I don't think that you should be worried about the server names, really, because the only time you ever see it is in the server list when you're changing realms or going to a realm or server. But that's like the only time you're ever going to see it.
But at the end of the day, you're right. At the end of the day, what major importance does what
It doesn't change
server
anything.
you're on make a difference? It doesn't.
The only thing that's different is the population and the type of server it is.
What happened because of that, like I said, I was kind of watching what people were doing, and because of the names, whether that's what it should be or not, this is what happened. A lot of people initially said they were going to go Widow because they thought that was the best name. Over the course of a couple hours, it became still the unofficial Oceanic server, which some people didn't like because, like I said, of the time zone difference, and then also because it's kind of notorious that people in the Oceanic region are playing with high latency, and that could lead to issues, with people you're playing with having, lag or, anything like that. So people were concerned about that. And then also because they ended up not releasing an RP PvP server for anybody, really, it was determined that Widow would be the unofficial RP PvP server. And honestly, I think that point kind of deterred people from Widow.
Yeah, there's probably lots of little things, and I think that the servers are going to be so large that at the end of the day, probably not a lot of this is going to come into effect to really affect anybody for much of nothing. I know some people are sitting there saying that they feel that 3 PvP servers aren't going to be enough. But, at the end of the day, they're going to be large, and it is launch, and once they're going to expand, more than likely, just like other games have in the past, you'll end up getting more servers. But you know what? They're, again, larger servers. I think it'll be adequate for now. It's just people want more choices. They love choices. Yeah,
but that's the thing. And they've said, Cougar said on Twitter, when people started freaking out about, not thinking the 3 was enough, Cougar said, that they have the tech in place that if they deem that it's necessary, they can spin up more servers.
Absolutely.
It's not a problem. Yeah. But I think what they're trying to do, and we've talked about this before, is that they want to fill as many servers as possible first.
Yeah, I think they want to get a nice balanced out population. and say, you know what, we're not dealing with a totally underpopulated server versus an overpopulated server. And they're saying, okay, we got these 3 people are going to have to pack into those 3, and we can handle the load more than likely. And if we need to, we can put in a 4th. And I think that's a better way to approach the problem.
Definitely. I think Purgo is going to be insane, though.
Yeah.
That server is going to be crazy packed, being an original, beta server. And they didn't change the names of that one. I figured that they'd change the names of all of the original beta servers, but
like
no.
they did with Nexus.
Yeah, they changed Nexus. Nexus became Storm Talon, but I think everyone knows that because that once they released the list, they did one more ops week day, and people that had been on Nexus were now on Storm Talon, so they didn't really do much to deter people from still playing on Storm Talon. All right, now we get to the fun part. We are going to talk about what server we will all be playing on specifically. Stuff. All right, so I guess I will go first with that.
Your ears.
As you guys know, I'm a Chua, so obviously I'm Dominion. I will be playing on Pago, it's a PvP server, and my main will be a Spellslinger, so I'll be a Chua Spellslinger.
And I'll be playing Cabal, and I will be on the Pago server, PvP Dominion. And I'm going to be playing an engineer. Typically, I have always wield the big stick and have the heavy armor, but this time I'm going to try something different, and so far I've been liking it. And
I don't know if I'm going to name my guy Nuts, actually. I was thinking something like Mad Dog. I think that'd be cool. Cool PvP name, Mad Dog.
To be honest, I missed out on my name, so at the end of the day, it won't be Cabal, but...
Oh, man.
I tried.
If not, it'll be Nuts or something around that. Nutso, something like that. I'll be on Purgo, and I'll be an exile on a PvP server.
Exile.
Yeah.
Hey, we could team up on you.
I know,
It's 2
right?
against 1 here.
We can have some PvP on the
Some
podcast.
PvP. Oh, yeah.
That'd be fun.
Podcast PvP. We might have to make that a thing.
Let the contest begin.
That'd be fun. Yeah, good luck.
Stuff's starting up, folks.
But
One.
not exactly sure what race I'll be, but I will definitely be a stalker for my main.
Yeah, I ended up locking in the name Celts, but
Celts.
Celts. So that's actually the guy I'll be playing, but as my main. But.
Yeah, I got Jazzy, but with 3 Z's, and I'm kind of irritated by that.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm looking forward to on the Purgo server is lots of bodies.
Definitely seems to be that way. Everyone seems to like Purgo. It seems to be pretty
I was just dragged here, but I don't care. People
That's
stab.
what happened to Cabal too.
You're like, I don't care where I'm killing them, as long as I'm killing them.
As long as they're dead.
I drug Cabal along too, so
Yeah.
he doesn't get a choice.
It'll be interesting, yes.
Wildstar has had a pretty interesting and crazy year this year. We've had a lot of stuff going on. And so what we're going to do now is we're not going to talk about every single little thing that's happened, but we've picked out in a month-to-month kind of deal here, actually, a few things that happened that taught us something new, that were really interesting, that gave us insight into the game, and that we just wanted to make sure that we all remember and see, where we've come from and what we're moving into. So we're going to start with May of last year, which is actually a couple months before I personally learned about the game. So this was stuff that I actually looked into. I didn't really have much personal experience with it. I don't know if you guys did.
I was right around this time frame myself, catching the Paths flick, the video there, and starting to. That was really where I kind of come into it, and I remember catching that video and going, "That's pretty cool," because I just loved how the Macari at the end is just shooting the room apart, and everybody's running for the hills. It just made me laugh, and I was like, this is neat. What is this?
That actually is one of the first videos that I ever saw for Wildstar, even though it did come a couple months before I knew about the game. And for those who don't know, real briefly, we're talking about the flick, which is the one with the Macari, where she's talking to the classroom and just kind of pointing around and showing them what the paths are. And I like this video a lot, and that's why, in our intro, if you listen to it, she's actually the very first thing in the beginning of the intro. And I really like that one. It's one of my favorites, even still to this day. So it was one of the first really funny ones that I saw. So
it was a good introduction to, A, their humor, and B, just getting an idea of, what's the explorer, what's the scientist, what's the warrior, and what are all these paths, and what do they do, and the settler, and how they work. And it was really neat. I got a kick out of it.
And it definitely showed people that this game has some more layers to it, so it's a really good thing to have. Another thing that happened in May of last year was that they started their they started closed beta phase 2. Something interesting that I actually read about this a little while ago, they actually introduced the Dominion during this time. They actually didn't even have the Dominion at all. They started out with just the Exiles, which is why in that very first, if you look way back, their first very cinematic early trailer, it only has a Granok, an Orin, and a Exile human in it, because they didn't have any Dominion yet.
That was the first video I watched. That one.
Yeah, that one was from 2012, I believe. That was a very early one. But so what they did in this second closed beta phase 2 is they made it so you couldn't play the Exiles, which I thought was kind of funny. And they introduced the Dominion at that time. And another thing that they did, it's kind of minor, but a game-changing thing. They changed the names of all the attribute stats. So they were called like magic and strength and technology and like all these crazy things, but they changed them to what we have now. That was something cool. Finesse and moxie. Brutality.
I remember that change.
I feel like you're saying Power Ranger names or something. Finesse, moxie. Anyway. I'm done being cheesy now.
Now I totally hear the theme song in my head.
Okay.
Thank you for that. How about we move to July of 2013?
July. What a glorious month July 2013 was in Wildstar history. And
you're gonna, let me guess, you're gonna say something like Shua Master Race or something like that.
Yeah. We were introduced to the greatest race in Wildstar. The Chua.
The Makari?
They were already introduced.
The Chua and the Mordesh were revealed as the final 2 races of the game in July of 2013. To that point, they didn't have them yet. And they introduced a nice little video for both of them, which that one was really funny as well. I really enjoyed that.
You know that hamsters are cannibals? I just like to say that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah, definitely works.
Why am I not surprised?
And they revealed this, the 2 races and the video were actually revealed at a panel at the San Diego Comic-Con.
What else did they get into in that month? They got into, the whole aiming, dev speak, and talking about aiming and how they tried out several different kinds of targeting systems before they, really settled into the whole freeform targeting system.
Then in August, got the big one. For a long time, everybody wondered, is Wildstar going to be free to play? Is it going to be monthly? Is it going to be buy to play?
Yeah.
Found out in August. They revealed that it would be a monthly sub game with the option of cred.
Awesome.
I'm happy. Love the sub.
Sub is the best.
Sub is good. Okay.
Believe it.
And then also in that month, they released their DevSpeak video for crowd control. They talked about how it works in Wildstar. It's quite a bit different from other games. It's a lot better, in my opinion. No stun locking.
I really like that dev speak. That part where he gets disoriented.
Yeah.
He falls off the ledge. He goes, whoa! That was great.
Disorient and blind are, I hate them so much.
I don't mind blind. I hate disorient. Blind I can deal with.
All right. And then in September, we learned about ship hands.
Yep.
Hands are fun.
Ship hands were good. There were some other things there. What was it? The Wildstar Wednesdays that they were going with over at that time was, based around housing contests. Just to see what could be done in the game with the housing, and players got to submit things, which was
they had their first housing contest at that time. Yeah. Didn't they also give out trophies to people for that?
Yes, they did. Yeah, which was
there
really.
Might be some people that'll be rocking those here on the live game.
And that was also the time of the leak from Jeremy Gaffney in an interview to kind of unofficially drop what the classes were going to be. Some of the classes, I don't know, remember that engineer medic kind of oops, but that was kind of a big buzz going on around that time too.
Yeah, we're not really talking a lot about the live streams, but they like to before we knew what all this stuff was, when we were still under NDA, they definitely like to drop those.
Yeah,
and it just kind of tucks those things in there.
One that I remember was I think it was Storm Talon, and they're talking about healing and what healers would be good with what tank.
Yeah.
And they dropped the engineer. I was like, hey, that guy's not. No, that guy's new. That's an engineer.
It's like, shh.
It's like, dude, come on.
They also took Best in Show at Gamescom, which was good,
and also at PAX Prime.
Yes.
I was just about to say that.
And then in October, we got kind of our first big bombshell after I had come into the community, at least. Troy Hewitt, who was the community director at the time, announced that he would be stepping down and leaving Carbine. He said that he had a family tragedy, so it sounded pretty bad that he ended up having to go back home, and he was forced to leave the studio. He's now working at another gaming studio, so he's definitely, picked up and kept in gaming, which is good.
Still doing what he likes.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen him around on Twitter, and he still keeps in contact with everybody from Carbine. He was a part of that team for a very long time. So,
as far as some of the things that changed in the game, some of the updates in October, they did game system updates where they had new leveling windows, and the limited action sets were topics of discussion. The quest systems. Wildstar Wednesday, I think, at that time was discussing the cross-realm functions. So they were adding that in October. Toward the end of October, they did discuss on a Wildstar Wednesday the open world PvP system. They were discussing that in October.
The rival system.
Yeah.
Something that you hadn't really seen in other games. That's really interesting. I really like that rival system. I've already gotten myself some rivals for a live game. Running my mouth on Twitter.
Can't wait. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Then we get into what's interesting, I think.
November. That's where things really started to roll.
Yes, it did.
Originally, the game had been slated to release in December of 2013. They ended up having to push it back, and we got that spring 2014 window. But I kind of feel like they tried to make it up to us, and I think they did a good job. They decided at that point to reintroduce all of the old classes and then to drop the two newer classes later. They started a class DevSpeak video. They called it their Mega Drop or Epic Drop. I'm sorry. It's called Epic Class Drop video series. And in November, we got the Warrior, the Esper, the Spellslinger, and the Stalker.
That was the big thing that really did take up, a lot of November. And I think it even rolled into the beginning of December, but it was a lot of talk about, the classes and reintroducing things. And this is where everybody, November, we're going, it's initially they were talking that December release, but with all these classes coming out, you're kind of starting to believe, going, man, this hype train's really going, and they're really throwing all the information out at you. And
yeah, it's funny. I remember watching all these videos, and this was before I had played beta, and I kind of knew at that point I wanted to play Spellslinger, but I wasn't really 100%. But I remember watching all these videos, and every time one would come out, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna play that. Like,
they all look good.
Every time they would come out.
As soon as I saw the Stalker, and he said Batman, Wolverine, Predator, I just threw my hands up in the air. I was like, well,
that's it. I'm done.
I'm sold.
Yeah, my Spellslinger one was Nightcrawler in a cowboy hat. Yes.
Yeah.
I was totally torn between the Stalker and the Engineer. I could relate with the Stalker and was like, that's cool, because it just brought back all those, comic book superheroes you've read about and everything. And of course, that's what they're going for. But that's, it worked. And I was like, Stalker, yes. I love the slashing and everything else. And I thought that's going to be great. But then I saw the Engineer too, and I'm kind of like, I'm not a huge on pet classes, but it looks kind of cool. That mid-ranged heavy armor. I'm like, that's pretty cool too. And
He doesn't even need bots, right?
you can build them without.
Those
it's just
bots.
a question of viability.
Fix the
Yeah.
bots.
Yes, I half the time I was playing, I'll admit, no.
Samuel, come here.
Yeah, those my bots would. I think I just ticked them off. I didn't change the oil enough or something because I'd tell them to do something. They'd look at me like I'm an idiot. But
Be like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
aggro the rest of the
they'd be
zone,
like,
though. I'll be right back.
I know. They're like, you want me to go attack what? No, you go do it.
Dang bots.
Yes. So you can build them without the bots.
November and December had quite a bit of information, along with, again, the medic and the engineer being revealed in early December as well. So like you were talking about, that it came in. Winter beta started in early December. At first, it was a very, very small trickle in. They invited all the old people that had been in the beta previously, and then at that point, they started sending out, I think they said between 3,000 and 10,000 invites a week at first. It was a very, very small, very exclusive beta.
Yeah.
And the only thing I think that really helped them get enough people, I feel like, was that they were sending out friend keys. This was something that was a little different that you didn't really see in other betas. And what that was, for anybody that might not know, is that for every beta key they sent out to a new person who hadn't played in the beta before, they would attach 2 more codes that they could give to their friends to play in the beta as well. So essentially, for every invite they sent out, they invited 3 people to the game.
Which really that does add up. I mean,
I actually got mine through a death match on Minecraft.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I got mine because to this point I had been very active on the Reddit because that's pretty much all I had. On Christmas Eve, actually, I got a random message from somebody who never posted anything. They were like, I noticed that you've been active and talking and helping people on Reddit. Do you want a beta key? I was like, okay.
Sure.
At first I thought they were just like messing with me, and I went and put it in. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. And it worked, and it was really cool. So it's just out of the blue. See, being nice goes places, people. Karma.
Yeah.
Or killing people and being the last survivor.
Or
'cause
being an asshole like nuts. Whatever. Both
Well,
spectrums, it works.
it was my friend got a beta key and he got the 2 friend keys. We're gonna put one into our Facebook page and we're gonna give it away through a poll or something. I don't remember. But the other one was gonna be a death match between all of our friends. So his name's Stabby. While he was up in like a throne, he watched us and we were in like an arena and we all came in and killed each other. And we had 2 matches. The first one was practice where I lost instantly. I just died. I was like, wow, it's over. And then I ended up finding a bow and I played it safe and I won. So
Very
it was
nice.
pretty great.
All comes back down to the PvP for you. It's all about
Yeah.
PvP.
That's how I got brought into Nexus through PvP.
So this beta, it was 24/6. They had it shut down on Mondays so that they could get people to come into the forums and talk. They wanted to get people's feedback, so they had to force people to stop playing, which I think was a good sign. They were like, stop playing, come talk to us. So that was pretty cool.
They were even going on about how they were having a hard time with their own the devs themselves were like wanting to play, and they were like, time out, guys.
Work.
They wanted to play.
And then at the same time with that, along with dropping the medic and the engineer, which were part of this, they dropped the flick with him getting all beat up by all the classes.
Which was
Got
quite
my
entertaining.
values aplenty.
I tell you, I love the voice acting that they do with this.
Again,
stuff.
another one of my favorites, and I did sample that in the intro as well.
Oh, but we're moving into
We're in January
2014.
2014. A big thing for a lot of people. We saw customization dev speak. A lot of people wanted to see this, and because the beta was very small and very exclusive, not a lot of people got to experience it firsthand. What the dev speak, taught us about was the armor dyes, the costuming, the crafting, mount customization, just all these things that can be customized in Wildstar.
There was a ton of stuff which gave you an idea of the scope of the game and how much there is to do and how much customizability there is, which was huge. But another big thing that was going on in January was the NDA lift. They did drop the NDA, and levels 1 through 15 were opened up for discussion, and we got our first glimpses of starting zones and, you know, all that lower level content to actually get to see it and kind of take it in. So that big.
Drop, the 1 through 15, was only for the press, though.
Yeah.
Only certain people.
Yeah, that wasn't the full NDA drop yet.
True.
But yes, it allowed us to get a lot more information.
I believe Zyback was really big.
Was a big one on that. But yeah, the press NDA lift, I had actually forgotten about that. Good call.
I worked hard to come up with that nugget.
All right, February 2014, Winter Beta Patch 3. We saw the level cap. Previously had been capped at 32 in the beta, and they raised it to 50. And with that, they also opened up the 20-man raid for testing. With that, it was funny because everybody who was in closed beta to that point, they kept telling us, make sure you get to level 32.
I remember that. Yep.
We won't guarantee you access if you don't get to 32.
Oh, they did hang that out over us, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, and I was sitting there going, man, I'm not going to make it in time.
See, and that was a horrible thing for me because that was when Spellslingers were really, really bad, and I couldn't even kill things my own level. I was at 30, and I was freaking out that I was going to lose my beta access, but I couldn't level. I tried. It's just anytime I tried to quest, things my own level would destroy me, and I'm not a bad player. So it just was very frustrating. Yeah, I'm horrible, apparently. Thanks, guys.
Well, I think the only reason why I didn't get the 32 is because I couldn't find my way back the far side, because I took a break and then I couldn't figure out my way back. I was like, God dang it.
Nice.
Where's that ship? I ran around Ilium for days.
And then the other thing, like I said, the 20-man raid, they opened that up for testing. They never did open the 40-man raid on the public, the public servers. I don't know how to say that. They did have big name guilds like World First and Server First guilds, and also internal QA testers testing the 40-man raid, but they wanted to keep that back for the live game. So that was never put onto beta servers for public.
Other big discussion in February was more, once again, another round of speculating on release dates. That seemed to be right through this whole time frame was a major point of discussion. It just kept coming back. You know, everybody was trying to take a stab at what's the date. I mean, they managed to hold that information out still at this point, and everybody was still taking stabs at it.
Another cool thing, and one of my favorite features of the game, they announced adventures. They released a flick and a dev speak about adventures.
I like that.
And Caretaker, our favorite guy,
I think he won the hearts of a lot of people.
made his debut there. We got our first look at what he was like.
Yeah, we saw him in the beta a couple times, but he was never freaking out.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Now you go back and he's freaking out.
You got to actually see his true personality coming through with it being all schizophrenic and psychopathic.
And see, to this point, Nuts and I had run the first adventure a couple times. We made a video about it too at one point, and it was fun, the one that we did, but because, we were at that level, we didn't get to see a lot of the other ones. And when this video came out, funny enough, I actually learned that there were other kinds. I thought that they were all like that little choose your own adventure, like pick a text dialogue box and
Yeah, there's choose your adventures, MOBAs, kind of, even.
tower defense.
Tower defense,
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ones.
I like that.
They're a lot of fun. Yeah, now to this point, I've done the tower defense one as well. And
Oh, is that one good?
yeah. Oh, yeah. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool different ones and another layer of gameplay on top of it. All right, in March. This was a big month, too, for them, actually, getting closer to launch here. They announced in the first week of March that they were going to stop sending out closed beta invites, and everybody freaked out. You know, talk about the speculation? That's when it started.
Yeah.
That first week of March.
It really started. It did really roll
Yeah.
It ran the gambit. People were mad. Like, why are you stopping?
People got mad, like really mad.
Yeah.
Like you're like, whoa, settle down there.
And then there were people who were afraid that the game was going to be pushed back again.
Yes, people were talking, July? I think they were speculating at that point.
I heard even as far back as like September, October from some people. They thought it wasn't going to come out till late in the year. But yeah, it was crazy the amount of speculation that went on at that point. I even had heard some people say that they thought they were kind of starting over, or that it was going to be canceled, or all this like doomsday prophecies going on.
Oh, God.
This was the time at which everybody was, the speculation ran high because they were going with the Elder Scrolls Online information, and they were going with the Warlords of Draenor speculations, and with their release dates and everything, and it was,
They held it tight.
Yeah, they did.
Until about a week later.
And then bang.
March 12th. It was
Ka-choom.
announced.
Yep.
Pre-orders.
And everybody was like, what?
Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good now.
We freaked out for a week. Now we're good.
which touche for them for pulling it off. I bet that's awesome. It's like,
See,
fooled
they
you.
troll us. They do it on purpose.
They do, absolutely.
You guys are horrible.
At least
Yeah,
they got the
on
sense.
March 12th, they announced that pre-orders would be starting. And then, obviously, with that, they announced their release date of June 3rd.
I feel like we're in like history class, but I'm actually enjoying history class.
No, so much cool stuff happened. It's crazy to think about how much stuff has really happened. You know, when I sat down to do this, I was like, oh, this will be kind of cool. And then as I started to get into it, like, wow, it's just incredible to think about all this stuff.
Well,
It doesn't seem that long ago.
You know?
Yeah, and I can't help but to look back. You even look back just the beginning of this cast. You look at where people thought the game was, going to be, or like in, that November, December, where we're getting all those class, videos, and we're thinking, this is it. The hype train's building. It's coming, or whatever the case. And then look at all the information we got now. You got so much more that you never saw coming.
And then, on top of that, a few days later, they said, winter beta done.
Uh-oh.
It's like, oh,
Just done.
That's not good.
So it wasn't completely over, though. They did, again, let us sit on that for a few days without telling us anything. Not quite this long. But a few days later, they did say that with the start of the pre-orders, we would be going to weekends only. To this point, it had been the 24/6 and closed on Monday for come talk to us time. And then weekends. A lot of people were upset about that, too. Again.
There was the whole internal talk from Carbine that, the powers that be want X, but yet we want X. And I think they were trolling us or something. But maybe that's really was that because they go for transparency. But I don't know. They're concerned about player burnout, which is a reality, a concern. That's a reality.
It allowed them, more time because, obviously in March, they had given us the spring 2014 window. Obviously in March, we're getting into that. We're right there. It's crunch time. They got to start getting things nailed down. So, they need that time during the week to kind of start pushing things through.
And patch notes were huge. And if you really want to stress test your servers, you force everybody into that select short window. And you're really going to stress test your servers because everybody's going to jump on. They don't get to stretch it out the week of their playtime. Whatever. Everybody made it a point that this is the time we're getting on. We're playing, and it really crailed them in. And I'm sure that's just what they were doing.
yeah.
And then the other thing too, when they went to those weekend events, they opened it up in a way that if you pre-ordered the game or you had gotten to level 32, like they said before, you could play those events with no issues. Just keep playing all the weekends. If you did not make it to 32, or at least 30, because I got to 30, and I played one weekend, I think, before I pre-ordered. If you got to at least 32 and pre-ordered, you could keep playing. If you did not, you had to go go through other websites.
And there was confusion on this. I remember seeing flowcharts being put out of like, if you do this, then you can do that, and if you did this, you're good. But if you're here, you're doing that, and I'm like, oh
yeah, it was a little confusing, but yeah, I remember seeing that too. Yeah, a flowchart about it. I was like, really? All right.
That was the thing of the time. That was the thing of the times.
But yeah, and like I said, they gave out a bunch of keys to the big like sites, like, you know, ZAM and like IGN had them. They gave some out for Alienware. Like you had to go through all these other sites basically, and that was another thing that people seem to kind of not really like that much, because the way that some of those sites gave them out, like some of them were like, okay, just make an account on our site and get a key, you know, whatever. But some of them were like, follow us and retweet this and watch all of our videos and babysit our kids and like you might get a key, you know. It was just, you had to jump through hoops to get them, and they were kind of a pain in the butt, and I can see where people would be frustrated about that.
Yeah.
And then the one that really got people, which this one I kind of didn't understand, but there are a couple sites like, you know, IGN and Curse, they have a premium service. It costs $5 a month, and it gives you a ton of perks. And usually one of those perks, I've been a member of Curse Premium, it's really cool, is that they give you beta keys for games that are coming out. And a lot of people called this, you know, pay to get into beta, you know, nonsense, that because Carbine said they weren't going to do that. But I didn't really understand that one, because they were like, oh, you're paying for beta keys. Like, well, you're not paying for the beta key, you're paying for the service, and that's a perk of it.
Yeah, so. You know, and I'm sure Carbine handed them out to these people, and they were kind of probably had the reign to do as it, you know, within reason, do as they will to get them out there, you know. And I don't know, no matter where you go, there's always going to be people unhappy and people complaining, and
people were very, very anxious and very excited, and because there were just so little people that were getting into the game. I mean, in March they also revealed that only 3 to 4% of the total invites, or I'm sorry, of the total beta requests, beta signups, had gotten into a beta.
And you think about that, how many, which goes back to what you were saying, so many people were still trying just to get in. And you know, it was like, I remember places like you were saying that the, you know, the keys would be here, you know, you log in at whatever, and we're giving out, and they were gone in seconds. It was like, if you weren't in the first couple minutes, I mean, forget it. And they were just blasting out, but still only 3 to 4%. So, I mean, that's just staggering.
Yeah, and then they also, like Nuts just said, they revealed that they had received over 1.4 million beta signups.
Yeah.
1.4 million. So good.
Granted, some of those might be, you know, repeats. Yeah.
I think they said something though. I remember at the time, because I think we've talked about this before, that they had a way of determining when there were duplicates, and they eliminated, you know, most of them. I'm sure they probably couldn't get all of them.
Yeah.
They said this number was without duplicates.
Yeah, they did some kind of calculation that was basically on the safe side, or a way to know if it was a duplicate or something, but they took the very low end numbers to not try to, you know,
to try and get the most accurate number. But yeah, that's, to me, that number is incredible. Like, for a brand new IP, granted, I know it's been, you know, hyped up for what, 11, 12, like 4 years. It's been really, really hyped up, and people are excited about it. But yeah, that's insane. That's pretty huge.
It was hyped up if you were in, I guess, in the loop in a way, because there were still a lot of places that, you know, were like, Wildstar, what's that, to a degree, that you weren't seeing it pop up on, you know, front page of Twitch or whatever the case, you know, or some of these large places. It wasn't popping up there, you know, up until these later months when they really got things going. What was the other thing they covered in March was arenas and battleground dev speak, right? Didn't they did that in March, yes, which was really cool.
Yeah, and they talked about how the big thing that I really liked is how they do their arenas. It's a little different, that they had the pool of shared lives. I find that
the arenas, yeah.
that was when I first heard that, I was kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting. I mean, instead of just, oh, you're dead or whatever the case, I mean, having that shared pool really makes you kind of want to make sure your partner isn't soaking everything up, but yet,
Yeah.
in a way, it gives you a little bit of flexibility. But I guess I would weigh into Commander Nuts to kind of go with that, because I don't know a lot about PvP, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just another thing that kind of makes them unique. Then we get into April, last month.
This was a big one.
Big month. So another couple sad things that happened. Chris Lynch, who was the lead combat designer, the guy basically responsible for our nice freeform targeting and awesome combat system, decided simply that he wanted to move on to other things and decided to leave Carbine. He left on good terms and just decided to do other things.
Well, it did really seem like April was kind of the month where people kind of ended up leaving, Carbine. I mean, even David Bass, aka Scooter, ended up leaving. He was the community lead. He ended up leaving, and he left on good terms too, and felt that he had at that point in time developed a good team and had everybody in a good position to usher Wildstar forward into launch and beyond. And
Yeah.
I mean, but it was, it's kind of gets to be a bummer when you see these people, on there and stuff like that, and then they go, and you're like, man, I knew who that guy was. You kind of felt that way because they were so personable, you know what I mean? And you kind of felt like you got to know them.
I was actually talking about that with a friend earlier who I was trying to convince to get the game, which he did on 0 hour launch day, so yay. But I was telling him, it's crazy how I feel like I have a personal connection with this dev team. Like, I've never played a game before where I knew them all by name and I knew what they did. I've never had that. I also know who the composer is, and I've talked to him too. The music in this game is incredible as well.
In other games, there are always just those people out there that just make this thing.
Yeah, I mean, you knew a few people like Ghostcrawler, things like
the big
that.
Ones, but
the big guys, yeah. But this, like I said, this is the very first time I've played that I know who all of the devs are. I've probably had personal conversations, whether it's small ones on Twitter. I've asked questions and things, and I've been personally answered. That's incredible to me.
Yeah,
just to have that kind of personal connection, it really makes you feel like you feel more comfortable and more trusting of the company when you feel like they give a crap,
That's the thing. Instead of just, we're up here on our high and mighty pedestals and we're just going to shove it down your throat, and if you like it, great. If you don't, well, too bad. It's not that kind of a representation from them, and which is just, like you said, it creates this whole other feel to it, and just this whole other connection, which is just really impressive, because I'm sure they got a lot to do just making the game and doing things, much less the fact that they actually take a minute and say, hey, we're transparent, and hey, we'll talk to you, and hey, we'll meet with you, and hey, come on over, and they're good with it, I mean,
so for sure. And then also, the silver lining, when Scooter left, we were introduced to Tony Ray, who is our current community manager. Really cool guy. He has a lot of fun, gets a lot of shit from Pross on the live streams. It's great. The last couple, he's been getting dodged pretty good.
He did that thing where he went to that woman's house.
Yes,
that was awesome.
Gives back. That was really good. that was really good. Yeah, they're good people. Also in April, they announced that we would have the boom boxes.
Boom.
There's lots of boom boxes.
They didn't call them that at first, though.
Mystery boxes. Which, and I remember we, even on our own show, we said, man, I can't call them boom boxes. And yet here we are. Boom boxes. Hey, boom boxes. And we're like, back then, we're like, no,
it's the official name, I think in the video they released for the boom boxes, it's like, hey, maybe you'll get a boom box in your boom box. I was like, really? Did you just do that? Really?
But everybody of age was like, oh yeah, funny. Okay, I get it.
Weird. Boombox. Ugh, whatever. But
The
yes.
video forum was cool.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that we see a lot of more stuff from them, like a lot of more costumes and things like that. It seems like there will be. They just didn't want to reveal everything. So
Oh, they definitely hold stuff up their sleeve. These guys do.
I guess we'll be finding out tonight in a few hours, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? Be there.
So the thing with the boom boxes, in case you didn't know for whatever reason, for every beta weekend that you logged into after April 2nd, which was pretty much when the pre-order or event key beta weekend started, you were given 3 boom boxes for every day that you logged in during that time period when the servers were up. And they did have one weekend in early May, late April, I couldn't exactly remember when, where they were kind of having some disconnect issues, which made it very hard to stay in the game.
Yeah.
So at that point, they offered everyone 6 boxes for every day that you logged in.
Dang.
Yeah.
So
Which was pretty sweet because there's going to be some nice stuff in the boxes.
I'm going to have a crap ton of boxes.
Yeah. But also in April was PAX East and
Yes.
War Plots.
War plots.
Now, the War Plots really made some waves with their flicks and their dev speaks.
Yeah.
Those were just
I mean, they had
awesome
had them.
stuff.
They had them in the beta to this point, but for a lot of people, this was actually their first look at
Yes.
war plots and really an in-depth look at it.
Things
I
were-
was jazzed about it. It
Oh
was
yeah, things were
amazing.
really rolling in April. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
once they hit PAX East, it was just like this uphill launch of just stuff from these war plots and the Drusera interest, and then they're pulling out Pink and everything else, and it
the
was just like
artifact weapons.
there was so much, and it was just like it's taken off right from there. That was, if you think about November, December, thinking that was a launch point, that was nothing compared to this.
Yeah, we're really getting into it. I mean, this was just last month, so there's a lot of stuff that they've got going on coming in this close. And also at PAX East, they won Best in Show again,
Awesome.
and they deserve
Yeah.
it. And this month, May 2014,
May.
first week of the month, treated to that awesome story trailer.
Yes.
The open beta trailer first, and then they kind of edited it a little bit and edited it. Wow, that's hard to really say. And put it as the intro to the game. They actually
Sure.
ended up making that the intro trailer.
I just opened it. I was like, hey, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Because I was updating it, getting ready.
Yeah.
I gotta prepare my mind. I gotta go meditate after this. You gotta hurry this up, man.
Snappy time after we're done.
I gotta prepare my body and my soul.
The open beta trailer.
Get all your food set up right around the computer. I'm not leaving.
You guys aren't gonna let me do this, are you?
My mom still
We're
won't let
too
me have
concerned with
breakfast.
Head Start. We have to make plans. We need to make food. I got
Eat
food
all
to
the
make
food.
too.
I'm gonna go to KFC and order so much chicken. I'm gonna
God.
regret it.
Oh, I know. That sounds so good right now.
You guys
Right
know that we have
up
a
to
section
it.
at the end where we're talking about this, right? Okay.
Yes. Okay, come on.
Getting so distracted. It's like
So
herding
hungry right
cats,
now.
guys. It's like herding cats.
It ain't that bad.
Open
like
beta
cats.
trailer.
Open beta trailer, yes.
Open beta trailer.
This was the first time, though, with one of their videos where they pulled out their serious side,
Yes.
which was very cool because the game is, they've been trying to cultivate this whole time something new, something fresh, this new IP, new storyline. We can make jokes and, not take ourselves so seriously. And it kind of had a following for that idea, and it really caught on to a lot of people as something, fresh and new that they could latch onto. But this was the time they broke out and had that really serious side that showed the more dark, sinister, serious side of the whole thing. And it was just like, holy cow, why ain't that on TV or
Finally,
something? That just,
people believe me.
yeah.
I've been telling people forever that there was a dark understory to this game. I think even Nuts at one point was like, no way. way. No.
It's like, dude, I just kill people.
I'm like, dude, no, it's dark. There's like genocide and murdering pregnant women, and it's just awful. It's horrible. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's horrible. Some of the things that happen to these people. More specifically, the Exile. I will freely admit the Dominion are assholes. Like, no joke. Like, we are shitty to the Exile.
It was almost like a system shock for seeing something for the very first time. It made the whole thing fresh again.
It was really well done too. I really liked that.
Yeah,
they have a really talented, cinematic team.
All right, here the other thing in May, the big black cloud.
Oh boy,
the big nuclear bomb that went off that made everybody's heads explode, and to a degree, mine a little bit. Name reservations. That was...
So, really quick to backtrack before we really get into it. As a perk for pre-ordering, you were treated to being able to reserve your name on the servers 2 weeks before launch, which is where we're at with this. Why don't you tell us what happened there, Cabal?
Well,
so be able to do it without yelling.
I know, right? It really got a lot of people fired up, and it was a great idea. Problem was systems crashed.
We exploded the website.
Yes, big time, and people couldn't get their names reserved. Or for me, for instance, I had got my name in a couple times, but it never took, so I didn't get it. By the time it was working, I couldn't get it.
So basically what they did is it was up at the time that they said it would be, pretty much got bombarded.
Yeah.
Some people could get through. When the window would come up, it would have question marks instead of the time frame.
That's what I got.
And those were names that weren't confirmed. And then people thought they got it, went away. So they ended up pulling it down for 3 or 4 hours while they tried to look at it and try and fix it. They put it back up. Same problems, and then they started running into a bug where it would tell people that they had to pre-order even though they already had, which I got that as well a couple times. I'm like, I can't pre-order any more than I have. I already have a digital deluxe. What do you want?
Yeah, I know, right?
I can't give you any more money.
But on the uptick, I mean, like I had said earlier, I think that I would rather see them have the problems with the website versus game launch time. So hopefully it goes a little smoother tonight. But the cool thing with it was they owned up to it. They, Gaffney came out, put out a post, said, look, this is what happened. We're working on it. We're trying to fix it. We understand, and they tried to make it up to people the best they could. People got 5 extra boom boxes. At least they had transparency over the issue, and they owned it. They didn't just kind of shuffle you off. And
Cougar actually wrote up a really big post explaining exactly what happened. Yeah. For me personally, I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like the boom boxes was kind of a cop-out, honestly. It's cool that they did
something. Trying to get people to get on.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they did something, but I think that once they got it figured out and they had the system stabilized, I mean, they maybe could have done a reset, been like, hey, in a week, we'll try this again, or something, and give everybody a few days so that they could get, back on the page, maybe make some plans and then whatever. Or another option that I thought of was, offer a free name change after the initial unlock period to anybody who pre-ordered.
I could see them going with the free name change. I could see that as viable, because the other one, you've got the people on the other side of the fence that got the names they want.
Yeah.
And then that's not, I guess, fair to them on the flip side.
Yeah, but see, the problem I have with that, and I've heard people say that too, is that it was a system that was supposed to make it so everybody had a fair shot. With the people that did get it, it was kind of like a lucky RNG. You kind of, it wasn't a matter of, first come, first serve. It was just luck.
Yeah. That's true.
And that's the only real problem I have with it. I mean, like I said, I'm glad and I'm grateful they did something, here's something because we screwed up. That's cool. But I still think that maybe they need to do a little more. All right, so getting down to the wire, we've got open beta. They decided between the 13th and the 23rd to do an open beta, completely free and open. And they said with the open beta that they saw more people during that open beta download and log into the game than they had seen at any point in all of the betas combined.
How many games have just let it all hang out and just kind of said, hey, have at it.
At the end of that beta, they did do some really cool events. They summoned like a bunch of raid bosses into the capital cities and let them just go on a rampage. On the Nexus Dominion server, there were so many people there that we actually crashed the server 3 times.
Well, and the cool part too was that the devs were actually participating. I mean, you saw the screenshots on Twitter and so forth, where one of the devs there was hanging out as a vending machine or mailbox or something, and and
that
you
was
could
young
see
War Chief.
Yeah, that was it. And he was up at high advantage points, and nobody knows I'm here and so forth. I mean, they were participating, which was cool.
Yeah, we had on Nexus for the Dominion, for us, we had Bitwise and we had young War Chief. And Bitwise was sitting there as his big, the scary blue big sheep.
Oh, God.
And young War Chief ran around as caretaker for most of it. But
That's awesome.
That was
yeah, they were summoning all kinds of raid bosses, and funny enough, they actually kind of got themselves in trouble because they were summoning the 40-man bosses. They actually summoned the final 40-man boss.
They were looking at the internal notes, going, "Nobody said we couldn't."
Yeah, they probably had a list, I would imagine, of ones that they're not allowed to summon, but they ignored that.
You got to figure there are people that may never really get to see that.
Yeah.
Other than that moment. So good for them. It was a good call.
Yeah, and like I was saying, that on the Nexus server, which was the most populated just by default because it was the only one for a long time, there were so many people there. Like, it was insane. Like, I have a pretty decent computer, and I can play on high or ultra high, depending on where I'm at most of the time. I had to turn my stuff down to, like, medium or low, and I was still only getting, like, 4 to 10 FPS.
Oh, my.
There were that many people there, plus the bosses and everything. Another cool thing that Bitwise did, because he was sitting there as the Rosdower, the evil Rosdower, he actually turned like a bunch of us into Rosdowers. So there were like a bunch of Rosdowers running around, and you could actually like mount up and stuff while you were a Rosdower. So I was like sitting on my motorbike as a Rosdower. It was ridiculous. And then another cool thing that they did for us, they gave us some more stuff that we hadn't seen before. People that were mounted, they actually started changing the skins on the mount to skins we haven't seen before.
Oh.
So there was like a strain version of the Raptor. Again, I'm Dominion, so I can only speak to what happened on us and our mounts. There was a strain version
It's all
of
right.
the Raptor.
We're the only ones that matter. It's all right.
Right. On the Chua ball, there was one, like, it's normally like a little glass ball. This one had like a kind of mesh looking like metal grate material. For the motorbike, there were 2 different versions of that running around. There was one that looked kind of like what you would think would be like an army one, like it had really big wide wheels and it was like green and silver kind of thing. And then there was a red one with a silver trim too. It was a pretty cool event. It lasted about 2 or 3 hours, and I recorded most of it. I've only done one part of it, the Far Side video, but I'm working on getting the other one out. Been busy. Sorry. Get there.
Life getting in your way.
I know. Damn life. I want to play more games. After the open beta ended, they had some patch stuff that they still needed to put in, a few fixes that needed to go in, but they wanted to make sure that they could test it. So they did what is called Ops Week. Basically what that was is that the week between the end of open beta and the head start, servers would be up sporadically at any point. They could just send out a message on Twitter, be like, get on the game, we're going to test this. Not only did they want to put that last minute stuff in and make sure that everything was okay, but what they also were doing is they were testing all the fail safes for launch. So trying to simulate, if like half their server banks went down, or what would happen if a bunch of people just kept logging off and on. So he said they were sitting there just flipping the servers off and on, off and on, off and on, like trying to make people log in and stress out the systems. And apparently it worked well. They had one day where they had everybody sit for 24 hours and just play. They tried to keep everyone logged in to see what would happen. One day, like I said, where half the server banks were off. I have hope that the launch will go smoothly.
I think it will.
It seems like they've done enough stress testing for it. And then just a few days ago, they released a features trailer. This trailer is kind of an updated version to the What is Wildstar video that we saw back in the day. Pretty much explains everything that the game has to offer with all of the final, implementations of what that means. This is actually the video that I showed to my friend, like I said, that I was talking to earlier, that I just told about the game today. I showed him this video and the Raids Devs Week, and he went and bought the game instantly. So,
Nice.
Well,
yeah.
That's a no-brainer. Duh.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Get the game.
But yeah, it was a really good video. Like I said, pretty much an update. So I recommend that if you guys in the future have a friend that might be interested, that's a really good video to show to people. Kind of gives a very short, very brief, oversight of what the game has to offer.
And now we're only a couple hours.
Yeah, we are in the 0 hours right before Head Start. Head Start is
How many hours?
6 hours.
I feel like we should have, like that New Year's Eve ball or something. That's
I know, right?
ready to go off and all the confetti and the little.
That's what I told you guys. We can just sit here and do a 6 hour podcast. It'll be great.
The poor
People
people
do that,
listening
right?
be like, "Oh my God, would you people shut up?"
People do 8 hour podcasts, don't they? Yeah, in about 6 hours, we will be playing the game. Head Start is
I
tonight.
mean, it'll probably already be gone for you guys when you hear it.
Oh yeah, you'll get to listen to us be excited about Head Start anyway. Since we don't do live shows, this is what you get. Deal with it.
Just
Trust
be
me, you don't
happy.
want us to do live
just be
shows.
happy.
All right, and as I mentioned, going forward, the things we have to look forward to, obviously the
Launch
official
date.
launch day is June 3rd.
Yes,
And
it
that'll be
is.
the day that you guys are hearing this, so you're probably not going to be listening to it on June 3rd. Because I
No.
probably wouldn't either, so I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You'll be playing the game. That's fine. Just listen
But
to us
what-
later.
But what can we expect in the future? They've already said monthly content drop. That's going to be good, and we should be expecting new zones, new battlegrounds.
They've got a 1.5 years worth of content planned already, so we're good for a while and at monthly updates. And
Yep.
here on our show, all of us, we are very thankful for everything you guys have done. We appreciate it, and we just wanted to say a big thank you to all of you guys for all your hard work,
Yes,
all
thank
the
you, Carbine.
hours, all the time
Yeah.
that you guys put in, for being so close to the community, for listening,
That know it, yeah.
making
You know,
us feel like you care.
it's a lot of work, and they've got lives on top of it and family, I'm sure, and to be able to really put this out, I know I appreciate it. I know there's a lot of hard work in there and a lot of hours, so thank you, definitely.
I would also like to say thank you as well. Obviously, they said thank you, but I would like to say thank you very much because I've been looking for a game for a long time, an MMO that actually could compete with, I'm going to put money in the swear jar here, into WoW. And you guys have obviously done it. Like, you look at SWTOR that was supposed to be good, and it didn't work out as well. Guild Wars, so many examples, but you guys really did pull it off, and I really do appreciate it. And, yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for another episode from us. Thank you for tuning in again. Something real quick here, though. Wanted to let you guys know you won't be seeing us again until June 17th. We're going to take a little break and enjoy the game a little bit. We did plan to go to that weekly schedule right after launch, but we decided we wanted to play the game. We want to enjoy it, too.
It's like a holiday weekend.
Exactly. After June 17th, we'll get a new episode out on that day, and then after that, we will be going to our weekly show schedule. As always, you guys can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Jazzy_Chua. You can subscribe to Nuts on his YouTube channel for reviews, playthroughs, and commentaries.
I'll promise I'll actually put up videos. I just need to get my new headset or my mic.
Told him I was going to stop saying it if he didn't put up videos, so now he's going to.
I'm going to.
And
I actually had one, but
that's at youtube.com/Cluffy142. You can also follow Cabal on Twitter at Cabal_Macari.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I'm pretty nice,
Yeah, you guys should follow
Come
him.
on over there.
So I'm going to retweet everything he says so you guys will see him. Remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed our show and leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about the stuff that we've talked about today, or just say hi, whatever you want to do.